following program is intended for mature audiences.
What do you say we have a rock and roll party?
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Condolences, Zach. You tweeted a very heartfelt post-mortem, I suppose, for the Ducks.
I did. I put together. I usually do that because I always, whenever the season ends, I always have so many things like running through my head. So I always kind of.
Who can say where the road goes?
Yeah, something along those lines.
I was going to point out to you tonight that if you go all the way back to the beginning of the season, we were talking about the possibility of the Ducks not even making the playoffs this year.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I know that's little consolation today, but when it's all said and done, I think they had a season that defied expectations.
When last season ended, I remember being as mad as I could possibly be at that team. The fourth consecutive year of Game 7, this time in the first round to coincidentally, the goddamn Nashville Predators. And I had said then, I'm like, this team needs to make me care again because if they keep doing this shit, I can't put all I put into the team and then like expect to keep coming back to it year after year. And then they went and, fired Bruce Boudreau and hired Randy Carlyle. And it was like, oh man, this could be really bad. This could be super duper bad. But they won their fifth consecutive Pacific Division title somehow. They surged at the end of the season. They were playing as well as I could possibly ask of them. They swept the Flames, knocked off the Oilers. I was like, all right, here we go, conference final. And, they lose, but they played so much better than I thought that they could have.
Not only that, but they didn't lose like rollover lose. Even in Game 6, they were still fighting to the very bitter end. And
that's the thing that changes this as opposed to other years. We're like, every single time we had lost over the last 4 years, it was Game 7, and it was just a garbage game. They would just lay an egg, and it was so bad. And so you felt so much worse than you could have otherwise. And so, and you look at Game 6, when they were down 3-1, they were out shooting the Predators 31-9. And
wasn't the final total like 41? Wasn't the final total like 41-14 or something like that in shots?
The total ended up being, I think, 41-18, and we lost 6-3. You take out the two empty net goals, and it's 4-3, but still.
Yeah.
They fought all the way to the end, and that's the most of any team that ends up being eliminated. That's really the only thing you can ask.
You sound like me from a couple weeks back.
Yeah, well, yeah. If the team kind of rolls over and dies, it's like, oh, you choking pieces of garbage, roll over like dogs. But you
go down swinging. There's no shame in it.
Yeah,
no.
But like I said, when you put as much on net as they did, it just sucked because the way that team played, I felt that that's a team that deserved to play one more game. Congratulations to Nashville, I guess. They look like they're having plenty of fun, and I know how that is. So
yeah, well, I think their fan base has acquitted themselves well in this. They seem a lot loud and rambunctious, and I mean, the thing that I find the most about them is that they still feel like tryhards, like they're trying to show everybody. I really can't blame them in that respect, though, because it's Nashville.
Yeah,
and it's going to take a while for them to get taken seriously.
And really,
I still don't take them seriously. They can win the cup. I'm still not going to take them seriously. No,
that's my point.
I'm happy with PK Subban at least, and I get to laugh at the Canadiens a little bit, so that's fun.
Oh, they're hoping to God that he doesn't win the cup.
You have to feel a little bit for Shea Weber, right?
Yeah.
He's a lifer with the Predators. He's their captain for many years. He's the face of the Nashville Predators. And the first year that he's not there...
I never got the impression that he loved being a Nashville Predator. But I could be wrong. I don't follow the Predators that closely. I don't really know.
He did try to sign with Philadelphia at one point.
Yeah, he did dare them like, here's my 10-year, $100 million contract. Okay.
Right. He got some ridiculous offer sheet that he thought there's no way Nashville would match, and then they matched it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
at that point, they really couldn't afford not. Like, he was all they had back then, so they didn't have much of a choice.
So the bigger picture, what we were talking about before we signed on, who are we rooting for? I just don't care at this point. I hope the Penguins don't repeat. That's about it.
I don't have a problem with the Penguins repeating. I really don't get the Pittsburgh hate.
It's always a new blood thing with me. I mean, I don't hate the Pens at all, but given the option, I would rather see Ottawa or Nashville win. To me, it's just a matter of if we can get a new team like a Nashville that's never won it or an Ottawa that's never won a modern version of it, I'm cool with that. So it's not a hate thing. It's just always go for the underdog type thing.
The Sens, man, they're a great story in it just only insofar as that they're an underdog. But in terms of like the way they play, just the trap and the clog it up and the block everything, it's just so hard to watch. And, we joked for a long time that, the worst possible thing available is, of course, Nashville, Ottawa in terms of ratings or whatever. But if you want people to really not give a shit about the Stanley Cup final, make it a bunch of 2-1 games featuring the clogginess of the Ottawa Senators.
I don't think that NBC is having the heart attack that a lot of people want to think they are over the possibility of an Ottawa-Nashville final. That's not their first choice. People will watch. But yeah, I don't know what the storyline is with this. I mean, okay, Nashville, their first time. Ottawa, I don't know. It would be Ottawa. It doesn't have a lot of curb appeal to a less than passionate fan like me. Like I like hockey well enough, but not enough where I'm going to watch this just because it's the Stanley Cup Finals. I'll watch elimination games, and that'll be it.
Even the bringing it back to Canada thing, I think bringing it back to Canada would probably be more if it was the Leafs or the Habs, the Oilers or the Flames, a team that people have some sort of general knowledge about it in the United States. I don't think anybody knows a damn about the Ottawa Senators if you're not a hockey fan.
Ottawa is technically beautiful.
Yes, that is their slogan.
Technically beautiful, as in technically we're beautiful.
It is the city slogan, technically beautiful.
Okay.
The other thing that I can't with the Sens, they didn't sell out Game 6 in the conference final. It was only, I think, 1,000 seats short or whatever. But come on, Ottawa. Care about your team a little, maybe? Yeah!
Telling you, once the Leafs and Habs are eliminated, most people stopped caring.
It kind of makes my point that they are the third choice of three teams in that market.
Yeah, well, they don't, especially even the way they play now, they don't inspire a whole lot of anything. You're going to hopefully see the team win the game. Not necessarily that you want to see some up and down action and a display of skill. It's no, we just hope the team wins somehow or another. Penguins, we've seen it. If they win, whatever. Crosby gets a third cup. He can be one of the, not that people won't talk about him as one of the greats, but he'll be up there with the handful of people that have won 3.
I think that ultimately, I think that's what we're going to see happen here. I think Pittsburgh's going to have very little trouble with Ottawa in Game 7. I think it's going to be a lot like the Sharks last year. The Sharks broke through, got in, and that was fun while it lasted. But now you've got to play the Penguins, and guess what? Good night, it's over.
It's going to be a lot of yellow.
I think the Predators will give the Penguins more of a run for their money than the Sharks might have. The thing about the Predators that is the same thing all the time, and one of the reasons I really hate losing to that team is there are some guys that you know of, but that's not the guys that end up beating you. In Game 6, it's Colton Sissons with the hat trick.
Right.
Colton Sissons. If it was Philip Forsberg or something that was scoring, sure. He's the third line center. They got bumped up to line one. Because
that happens a lot in the playoffs, though. Not only in the NHL, but you'll see it in the NFL, like a Timmy Smith shows up in the Super Bowl and rushes for 205 yards and you never hear of him again. It always happens in baseball where some guy that's batting 140 all of a sudden comes out and hits 650 with 5 home runs in the playoffs.
Right.
And
I get that it happens a lot where there's a guy that steps up, but this is the existence of the Nashville Predators. They have a couple stars, sure. They've always had a couple stars here and there, whether it was Peter Forsberg for a minute or Jason Arnott when they had him, Pekka Rinne, Shea Weber, on and on.
That's Lester Pekka Rinne, by the way.
There's always these just collective of forwards that they somehow squeeze all this stuff out of, and they create offense, and they end up beating you somehow. That's the thing that's always frustrating. Is it's just a bunch of dudes, usually.
We lost to a bunch of dudes.
Just a bunch of guys out there playing the puck. But yeah, the hockey season's effectively over. I'm not going to watch Game 7 tomorrow. I don't know if I'll be able to bring myself up to watch the first few games of the final.
I'll probably watch Game 7 tomorrow because it's a Game 7. I'll even watch the NBA Game 7s if there's ever actually is one.
Speaking of basketball, did any of you guys catch that shellacking the Celtics, Scott?
In that Game 2. Yeah,
Game 2.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. The Cavs go into Boston and just destroy them 2 nights in a row. Mm-hmm. And then, like the 2 games in Cleveland, the Celtics won the first one. The Cavaliers had to win the second one on like a last-second Kyrie Irving shot. According to what I've seen on TV. I don't know. I didn't watch either one of them.
Wasn't LeBron not playing in Game 3?
I don't know. Honestly.
I thought he was.
I think, I know he was because I remember him taking a shot that he missed towards the end of the game. But, I mean, I just, we've beat this to death, but the truth of the matter is, it's just like you just don't care because, let's be honest about it, what we're looking at now is a repeat of the same finals matchup we've had for 3 years in a row now. And I don't know why. It didn't bother me in the 80s when it was Lakers and Celtics every year. I looked forward to it, but for some reason, this now, it's just like, oh my God, again? Because that's where we're headed.
You don't care that the Warriors haven't lost a game yet, and will they ever lose? And,
no, I really don't.
It's the rubber match. They split the first 2.
I was kind of pissed off that the Celtics beat the Cavs, honestly, because I was hoping for like straight sweeps on both sides all the way through.
Me too, because that had never been done before. I think the Warriors were the 4th team to sweep the first 3 rounds.
And stupid Boston. I mean, okay, you should have just lost. You're losing this series. You're going to lose in 5 anyway. You should have laid down and lost, just gotten it over with.
The thing that's strange about all this too is apparently the ratings for the NBA playoffs are still up.
Yeah.
All the games not really being great.
Well, but you've got the names. You've got LeBron. The Celtics are always going to do well, and you've got the whole Warriors thing going on. So it's a star-driven league, and people tune in to watch. I don't even know if people even care if the Cavs win or lose, as long as they get to see LeBron or Kyrie Irving or Steph Curry or Kevin Durant.
Yeah, that's Game 3 of the Cavs Celtics reinforced my 10-minute basketball idea. In Game 2, I'd seen a notification on my phone that Cavaliers lead the Celtics going into the 4th quarter 107-59. I said, okay. And then Game 3 comes around, and my uncle, he's from Maine, so he's a big Boston guy. We were sitting there, and he turned on the game. It happened to be the final 10 minutes. And I sat there and I was glued because I'm like, oh, this is a tight game. They're going back and forth. This is interesting. And it's like, well, I'm glad that I came in now because I didn't need to waste the previous 2.5 hours of my life. So that was nice.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I mean, I know people are complaining about it now because it's the Cavs and the Warriors again, but the so-called golden era of the NBA, that's exactly what it was. It was Celtics-Lakers. Every bit as inevitable then as it is now. Now, I don't know if the difference was you had teams that you thought could rise up and knock these guys off, like the Pistons would come close with the Celtics. The Lakers had trouble with the Rockets a couple of years, but for the most part...
Did the Suns make it one year or something?
Not in the 80s. It's just, it was...
Suns made it like 91.
Yeah, I think in the 80s it was the Lakers... The Lakers and Celtics, I think, only played maybe 5 of those years, but every year it was one or the other. And on the years that it wasn't, it was like Detroit, I think, went in maybe 89 against the Lakers. But
pulling up the finals. I'm going to pull up the final matchups just to see.
But yeah, I don't know. Lakers won 80.
Robo, Greg.
Robo.
Is that better?
No.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Unruffled by that minor setback, we try phase 2.
Better?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see if I can do it off the top of my head. Lakers won in 80.
Lakers beat the Sixers.
Okay, I can do this. They beat in 81. Celtics beat the Rockets. In 82.
In 6.
Lakers again over the Sixers.
Yep.
83 Sixers over the Lakers.
Yep, they swept them.
84 Boston over the Lakers. 85 Lakers over Boston. 86 Celtics over Rockets. 87 Lakers over Celtics. 88 Lakers over Celtics.
88 is the Pistons.
Oh, was that the Pistons? Okay, I thought that was the next year, because in 89 Pistons over Lakers, and then 90 Pistons over, I don't remember, Portland. Yeah,
Portland.
I did all right though.
Yeah. So in the 80s, you have the Celtics making it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. You have the Lakers making the finals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years. The Lakers played in 7.
I mean, sometimes I'm kind of bugged by the fact that they put the Celtics on that same level. They were good, but I mean, they're like, the Celtics were the team of the 80s. No, the Lakers were clearly the team of the 80s, without question. 5 titles, went 7 times. Yeah. I don't know how you can even debate that anybody else is the team of that decade. 8 times?
It was actually 8 times. I lied. Yeah, 8.
Out of the West.
Rockets were the only other. Yeah, out of the West.
Yep, it was the Rockets both times.
The East, it's the Celtics, and then the Pistons made it for 4, or I guess 3 straight, going into the 90s. But that's just the NBA though. I mean, it's just teams kind of handing.
That's what it was back then. Yeah, exactly.
Like as I have it right now. The Lakers won 4 out of the first 5 NBA titles starting in 1950. With the Syracuse Nationals, the Philadelphia Warriors, then the Celtics
won like the entire 60s, except for maybe 2 by the Warriors or the 76ers. I don't remember which. It was a Philadelphia team.
The Celtics won in 57, lost in 58, but then won 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66. Then the Sixers won, and then
you had the Knicks drop in there in 70 and 73, I think.
A little bit more back and forth.
Yeah, because that was the Bullets got their title, and the Sonics,
Bullets,
the Blazers.
Sonics, Blazers. Then it's Lakers, Celtics, Pistons, Bulls, Rockets, Bulls, Spurs, Lakers, Spurs, Pistons, Heat, Spurs, Celtics, Lakers. Mavericks, Heat, Spurs, Warriors, Cavs.
None of this is new, I guess is my point. It's been like this forever.
Yeah, it's not new. We beat it. Why the NBA? Like, I get that there's enough cities to support it, and you have. I think if there was anything that's analogous to English Premier League soccer, it's the NBA, where in the Premier League there's like 5 or 6 teams that matter, really. You have your Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester, both Manchester. Everybody else is fighting to just be in the middle or to not get kicked out of the league. And I think, but that creates a lot of interesting things to watch for and things for fans to pay attention to up and down the league.
Yeah, if you're a fan of a sucky team, you're just rooting that you don't get relegated.
Right. In the NBA, if you're a bad team, or even in the NBA, if you're mediocre,
here's
what the hell do you care about the league? Basketball game.
I have 2 points to make on this. My first point is simply show me the path for the Minnesota Timberwolves to win the NBA title in the next 10 years. There's not. Okay, my second point is somebody wrote, because obviously with the Cavs and the Warriors on a collision course, people are writing about this, and somebody wrote, it's just one of those things where the best player is on one team and the Warriors have this thing put together. They called it an anomaly. And I said, no, it's not an anomaly. This is absolutely the way it's always been. You look at it every decade. The 90s, it was all Chicago Bulls. And let's be honest, Michael Jordan doesn't go on the baseball thing for 2 years. They win 8 straight titles. That's it. Simple as that. They're the Celtics of the 90s.
Yeah.
Maybe I guess you could say the early 2000s with the Lakers and but really.
But the early 2000s, it was the Lakers and the Spurs. Then you throw in a Lakers and the Spurs, doing things up until between 1999 and what is that? 2010.
And
it was the Lakers and the Spurs were the only teams coming out of the West. Mavericks made year, and the only times they lost.
This writer made it sound like that what we're seeing with this current run of Cavs Warriors is just this thing that just never usually happens. I'm like, that's just simply not true.
No.
This league is built on dynasties. It's as simple as that. That's what it's all about. It's what it's always been about.
Like every league has its team or a couple teams that haven't even made the championship round. But like in the NBA, it's the Clippers, it's the Grizzlies, it's the Hornets, it's the Nuggets, it's the Pelicans now, and then the Raptors and the Timberwolves. You have 7 teams. 7 out of your 30.
I would almost go as far as to say that I bet you a bunch of those have never even made a conference final, let alone the finals themselves.
Right. I know the Timberwolves made a couple conference finals when the
Raptors definitely.
The Raptors have.
The Raptors made the conference final last year. Yeah.
The Hornet Pelicans.
But that's my point.
The Hornet Pelicans haven't, and neither have the Hornet Bobcats. Who are 2 separate things, but they're also
under the current setup in the NBA. I'll go back to what I asked a minute ago. Show me the plan that puts any of those 7 teams into the upper echelon of the NBA, because there isn't one.
There is none, because the Raptors have put together a pretty darn good basketball team over the last couple of years. But here's the thing. The best the Raptors can ever hope to realistically achieve in today's NBA is to be the team that Cleveland has to beat to get to the finals, and they will beat them.
As I'm made it, so those are all the teams that have never made it. The Pacers, the Indianapolis Pacers, have made it once. The Magic have made it twice. The Nets twice. The Jazz twice. The Suns twice. The Sacramento Kings once. As the Rochester Royals.
They won it, Lo. They won it.
Yeah, they get to have that stupid gold tab on the back of their jerseys because the Rochester Royals
won it in 1902 or something.
Back in 1946.
Yeah, and then you get the Mavericks have made it twice, and the Bucks.
Let me tell you about those 46 Royals with Whitey McPherson and Honky McCracker.
But as I'm looking through the list, like you add in those teams, and
4 guys named Matt, and there was this one cat named Quadruple Jesus. They wouldn't let him play. I guess I'm just saying that I don't know. And God, I love the Lakers of the '80s. Just loved them. One of my all-time favorite teams because of Kareem and all that. But I just don't understand what the appeal is because, again, I mean, unless you want to be a Cavs fan or a Warriors fan. Or if you really want to roll the dice and maybe go, okay, I'll go with the Spurs or something. Other than that, what's the point?
Half the team.
Well, not only that, but you brought up the teams that have gotten there, like the Jazz got there once or twice. That's what. But really, if you're outside of the top 2 or 3 elite teams, that's what you're gunning for.
Well, and honestly, even we think of the Chicago Bulls as one of these great NBA franchises.
No,
they've only played in the finals 6 times, and those were the 6 times they won with Jordan. Okay, great. You had the best player of all time. That is the only reason the Chicago Bulls.
I mean, look at the NHL. You had the '80s Islanders. Okay, I don't know. I mean, I don't remember what the Habs did in the '70s, but
'70s Canadians.
But the '80s,
the '70s Canadians is one of those all-time greats.
Yeah. Okay. And the '80s Islanders, '80s Oilers,
'80s Islanders.
But you don't. But none of that makes you think that. Well, to give a perfect example, the Anaheim Ducks have no chance of winning the Stanley Cup because guess what? They do when they did. Or the Carolina Hurricanes have no chance of ever winning a Stanley Cup because they have and they did.
That a fluke, based on everything that happened.
But still, though, the point being, though, is that You don't look at the Carolinas or the Columbuses or whoever, which I think Columbus is the last team left, if I read this right on the boards, that hasn't won anything yet. But
yeah, Columbus and now Vegas are the only teams that have never won a division.
But my point is, or you can use baseball or even the NFL for that matter. But I mean, right now you look at the Browns and you go, "There's no chance," and that's probably true. But for the other 31 teams, there is legitimate hope somewhere down the road. You can put together a path for even the lowly Browns, where you can say, if they do this, this, and this, they can become a Super Bowl contender. All right, and I'm getting carried away with the Browns. We'll use a different team. We'll say the Buffalo Bills, okay? Yeah, the Browns, that's a bridge too far. You're right. I was really stretching it there. But
right, and there are only 4 teams in the NHL that have never made a conference.
Yeah, I don't look at Columbus and go, it's completely hopeless. Yeah,
all 4 of those teams are all new. Columbus, the Wild, the Jet Thrashers, and the Coyotes are the only old quote unquote team that have never made it, whether in Winnipeg.
But again, you don't look at them and say there's absolutely zero chance this will ever happen. I mean, again.
Oh, the Coyotes made that Western Conference final run that one year that they didn't make it. But
let's say, just for the sake of argument, that Austin Matthews ends up in his hometown playing for the Coyotes. All of a sudden, you're looking at it going, they get a couple things here and there and do the right thing. They could be cup contenders. Sure. Again, I go back. I'll use a different team. The Memphis Grizzlies. Show me their path to an NBA title, because I don't see it. No one's going to sign there.
They had their best teams. They had their best teams ever, recently, and they kept running into the Spurs.
You're not going to get a LeBron. Isn't going to sign in Memphis. A LeBron isn't going to sign for the Pelicans. I mean, you're going to get a guy like an Anthony Davis in New Orleans, who's a great player. And the second that first contract's up and he can go, he's in Los Angeles, he's in Boston, he's in New York. He ain't sticking around.
It's just
look at what happened with the Cleveland Cavaliers when LeBron left. It wasn't like, even though LeBron's gone, we can still. No, that never happened. Yeah, at Oklahoma City, guess what? Russell Westbrook, when he's gone, you're going to join the rest of the dregs of the league, so enjoy it while it lasts. It's ridiculous. And I don't know what the solution is. I know that somebody put up a hard $90 million salary cap with less player movement and stuff. But
it was like a hard $90 million salary cap, and I think it was teams have territorial rights, so basically no free player movement. Basically teams can pull from their local areas, and that's it.
But that would mean that the Lakers and the Knicks would win. The Canadiens were so good for so long is because they had the rights to every single player in the province of Quebec.
Oh, really? I never knew that. Is that actually was that actually a thing? They had regional.
They had first dibs on any.
Well, hell, that makes it a whole lot easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, right. It's just the nature of the sport and the league that's how it is. The NHL, and we've it's been something that's made fun of plenty. Parody, anybody can win, and that kind of do what you want with it. But at least that. Some people think it's bad because anybody could beat anybody, and that's not necessarily a good thing. You want good teams to be able to be good teams and win. But I think that's also good in that it allows everybody
let's be honest, too. It's
shot,
not like every team in the NHL is going 30, 30, and 12 or whatever, or 22, I guess it would be.
But that's another thing with the nature of the game. Sometimes things just happen in hockey that a team loses a game. It happens. Or a team wins a game. It happens. In basketball, if you have a better player, you're winning. You're 9 times out of 10, 7 out of 10 at the worst. You're probably going to win.
You get a game like Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals, where the Celtics came out and played I think, at the absolute peak of their ability. And the Cavaliers were kind of disinterested to shuffling around, and they still won. And the Celtics won by 3, but no one for a second, not even Bill Simmons, thought for a second that put the Celtics back into that series. After the first 2 games, you're like, there was no way this team will beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cleveland Cavaliers can beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in this series, but the Boston Celtics certainly aren't going to do it. It's just not going to happen. And to me, I just don't get it. And that's what floors me when they say basketball ratings are up. I mean, even baseball. Remember, it wasn't not even 10 years ago. Well, what the small markets versus large markets. it's hopeless if you're a Milwaukee Brewers fan or a Kansas City Royals fan. Well, it was hopeless until the Royals put on the 2015 World Series ring that they won for winning the World Championship. Even baseball, which has got about as screwed up an economic system as you can come up with, even has more competition. You don't look at it and go, it's completely hopeless for anybody really at this point. The Twins are playing well.
No, especially now.
Well, but that's not all of it. I mean, it's even before it was just the regular wild card team, but you still had teams popping up, and in the NBA, I just don't ever see this happening where it's ever going to be as competitive as the other big three are. I just don't see it. I don't know how you get there. So on that note, we are going to call it a night. Thanks for tuning in as always. Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Go to the website. It's now basicallysports.tumblr.com. Subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and the YouTubes, and you can also find us on Facebook. And with that, I'm done. You guys got any final thoughts?
New trailer for the new Star Trek show looks like garbage.
Oh, God, does it ever? Does it ever? Man.
Okay, it's going to be on their online on-demand service anyway, so who the hell cares?
Yeah, nobody's going to see it. It's fine.
And I forgot I wanted to bring this up. I know I'm 4 years late now, I guess, but I finally watched Guardians of the Galaxy. That movie was a stone groove. I loved it. I thought it was great.
The first one?
The first one, yeah. I want to go see the second one now.
Yeah, the second one's pretty good.
Yeah,
I saw the second one for a second time last night, and I liked it even more the second time through.
Anyway, That's it. We're done. We will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
All right. Later.